Best Buy with the money you gave me. But
Mm,
I also kind of want to get uh, the Phoenix Wright collection that you can only buy physically as an import,
yeah, they had a heck of a sale going.
and then sell my DS cartridges, and then use that to get something else.
Yeah, they had a heck of a sale going on at Evil GameStop, where you buy two used, you get two free.
Maybe I'll
Wyland's
do
in.
that.
Yeah, that's an idea, and I think it broke down like if you bought Death Stranding, Modern Warfare, and a couple others, it came out to 20 a game. Like
Mm.
if you spent 80, but I don't know if you have that money. Wyland's in chat
No,
was.
I don't have that kind of money until next paycheck
Yeah, you might check
because
it
I got to
out.
pay my rent.
Yeah, yeah. What's up, Wyland? We haven't really started the show yet. Breakman probably will not join us today. He's under the weather.
Could at
Uh,
least be in chat, maybe.
maybe we'll see. Let us know if you can hear us, Wyland. That'd be nice. If you're just joining us, show's RP Grinders. I'm Frank Branches, along with Eric.
I need to find out where I can see Ip Man 4 and then quickly watch Ip Man 2 and 3.
uh well, I know how you could, but what's up, Freak
No, Ip
Five?
Man 4 is still in theaters. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, I gotcha.
I know how to see 2 and 3. 2 and 3 are on Netflix.
Yeah. Um.
Then again, considering all the Ip Man movies are on Netflix, 4 will probably show up there.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably. What's up, Freak Five? Freak Five's in chat. Let us know if you can hear us. Uh. Not much. Okay, cool. So that must mean you can hear us then. That's really cool. Break may not be on tonight. He's a little under the weather, but the show's RP Grinder. Show must go on. Last show of the decade. So it should be a ton of fun. Um,
Are we going to talk about, like, the Stenkos of the decade?
yeah, we could do that. Um, oh, look, Bernie's
Or,
Meow,
like, the
AK.
most impactful moment of gaming for the decade?
Yeah, Black Cat's in chat. What's up, Black Cat? That's Bernie's
Then we got
Meow.
to do game of the decade because we already did game of the year.
Yeah, we could do that. That'd be fine. If it actually the free for all was that's what I had planned for the free for all, like the best and worst of the decade. Um, yeah, I know, Freak Five. He was under the weather. I could tell he wasn't feeling too good. He started getting sick last week. I don't know if you recall,
I
but
hope it's not the flu. That reminds me, I still need to get my shot, which I'm
yeah,
going to take care of finally tomorrow.
yeah. I just hope you don't get the flu within 2 weeks because you could still get that shit. Hey, Bernie's Meow, really appreciate you joining. We haven't started the show yet, but I'm really happy you could join. Um, I know you're not too familiar with the show, but we talk about video games, politics. Um, actually, you may be surprised, Freak Five. That could be the stinko of the decade. Maybe not. We'll see.
What? Well,
He says President Trump. That's a very good contender.
yeah, it'll only Stinko if they don't do a goddamn thing about it. But
Yeah, yeah. Politics.
you think the obstruction charge, justice charges they're getting against him could be added to with this current obstruction for testifying
Well,
witnesses?
for intimidating witnesses. I mean, there's a you know, whole deal with that, Eric. But we could,
I need to
um,
reload the chat room.
is anybody getting audio out there? It shows everything shows good on my end. I don't know what's going on.
They say the Black Tat Scale can say says he hears us.
Oh, okay. After we do
Oh,
the news, Black Cat, you feel free to call in. I'm gonna open up the phone lines after the news. So just if you have Skype, you could talk to me on Skype. Like after we do the news, I'll open up the phone lines. Just look up RP Grinders. I'll get you on in, and then
I feel like I need to see Knives Out, 'Out, 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 Knives Out. I mean, sorry.
Oh, Knives Out. Yeah. Um, yeah.
Is
So
Uncut Gems actually good? Because Adam Sandler, I don't know.
he's good when he does serious work. I heard very good things about it, Eric.
Were,
You
were
might
the first two Bad Boys movies even good?
Bad Boys?
Yeah.
No, I didn't like them. I mean, they were super, super popular.
I
Uh,
saw someone I follow tweeted that said they liked the movies,
yeah,
or at least the second movie.
yeah. I mean, they're not without merit. I don't want to say they're completely terrible, but yeah, Black Cat. Just go ahead and add me on Skype right now, and then after we finish the news, I'll open up the phone lines. We might take a few calls. We're gonna try to blow through the news and.
Oh wow, A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood's apparently still playing. Maybe I should see that.
That probably would be a good choice, Eric. Um, we got lots to talk about today. This is the last show of the decade, right? Uh, okay, Freak Five. We just talked about that, talking about Rise of Skywalker. We'll talk about Rise of Skywalker in generalities today, and if there's a few spoilers, that's fine. If you want to call in, no problem. But we really want to get Break in here next week and do a further discussion. So this week we'll discuss Star Wars, and we'll also discuss it next week because there's plenty to talk about. I'm sure there's going to be bones of contention with everybody. Eric liked it. I liked it okay, but it's problematic to say the least. So, um, you know,
Well, I won't say that it doesn't have problems because it does, but
it has.
I think despite all that, I liked it.
Yeah, I mean, I knew we were gonna have an array of. Uh, yeah, it'll be fine. Freak Five, you can call in after we do the news, and we'll go from there. I don't want to go too in
Temporary
depth.
host, yay!
Yeah, I don't want to go too in depth because Break isn't here. But we will talk about it. That'll be in our review section. I know people are eagerly anticipating that whole thing. We'll talk politics probably. A lot of bullshit going on in politics this week. Um, I didn't get a chance to see the end of Mandalorian, Wyland, so I usually watch that show right after this show, to be honest with you. So I'll watch it, and then we can discuss that next week as well. Next week should be a Star Wars centric kind of show, but we will discuss Rise of Skywalker today more in general terms than anything because I want Breakman. I mean, Breakman's the biggest Star Wars nerd here, I believe. So, we want to get him involved in that. Lots to talk about today, up to and including. I have a review of Yakuza 0, which, really good game and solid start to that series. If that's all that series is, I'm down. I did play Kiwami. Eric's got some reviews. Of course, I mentioned Star Wars stuff. I got an interesting heiscapade that I may or may not get to today. Stinkos, we're going to be talking probably Stinkos of the decade and Sweetos of the decade. Free for all, we'll be talking about best and worst of the decade movies, games, etc. Should be fun, and there will be plenty of time for you guys to call in and discuss your thoughts on everything that happened this past decade on and off this show. So it should be a ton of fun. But without further ado, let me see if I don't see Break in chat. I don't think Break's joining. Freak, if you want to go ahead and call in, that's fine. We don't mind.
Maybe you can call him Frake Man instead of Freak Man.
Frake Man instead of Break Man. Fake Break Man. That's what we could call him. Fake Break Man, or Freak Break Man. There you go. So it's gonna be a fun last show of the
call
decade.
Him Blues instead, because that's his other name.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm gonna go ahead and get us started, and if break happens to join, he joins. But thanks everybody in chat so far. Black Cat's in there, Bernie's Meow on Twitter. He's a fun follow. Freak Five's in there, of course. Good friend Freak Five, and our good friend Wyland, and Let Me Play is in there. First time I've seen you Let Me Play, I think. So, welcome on in. We're just about ready to start the show. It should be Black Cat. It should be fun. Although the third member is not in today, but that's okay. Freak took my gerb. Exactly, Freak Five. Okay, let's get the show started. Eric, you ready to go?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do this then. I gotta hit record and all that good fun stuff. So here we go. Here we go. And welcome everybody to episode 571, the final show of the decade for RPGrinders. I'm your host, Frank Branches, alongside my trusty cohort, Eric the Great. Breakman the Bold is, I was going to say on assignment, but I'll just be honest with you guys this week. He's sick. He may or may not be joining us. I'm leaning towards a no on that, but if he ends up joining us, that'll be a pleasant plus. So, Eric, you are here. How are you?
I forgot to add a couple stinkos. I need to add them now.
Well, feel free. How are you doing, man? Eric, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay.
All right. Well, let's get into the news, Eric, and get the news over and done with. Why don't you get started with the first story?
First story is from RPG site, and it's about a game called Vystaria Saga, which is the game we talked about before because it was about a game. It was about the guy who originally created Fire Emblem. A long time ago, during the PS1 era, he left the company Intelligent Systems and made his own game. It was basically just a spiritual successor to Fire Emblem called Terrain Saga. And since then, he hasn't really done much until recently, where he made a game with, I think, some kind of game-making program. I'm not sure if it was RPG Maker or whatever, but he's basically made a spiritual successor to both of those series called Vystaria Saga. And he started with Vystaria Saga 1, this War of the Science.
Yeah,
and it's on sale today for $20 on Steam.
That's not bad. $20, but
I hope it gets ported, because this is a game that probably would do well.
Yeah, for sure. All right.
And it's got classic Fire Emblem sprite work.
Cool. Yeah, it looks from the video that you guys can see if you're...
It's actually several years old. It launched in Japan 3 years ago.
It does look like an old school game, but I dig that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
so.
The name of the program was called SRPG Studio.
Yeah. Freak Five's talking about he got the collection of mana, and he remembered how about its problems and stuff like that. Yeah, those old games do have problems, but you just have to accept them for what they are.
Final Fantasy Adventure, in particular, just being the final area of the game is just a gigantic maze of fuckery, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
And the frame rate on the game is awful because it was like an early GB game.
Yeah. Black Cat said...
And then Secret of Mana had all of its weird issues.
Yeah, Black Cat says kind of reminded me of Legend of Zelda original NES. Totally's got that look, for sure. All right, second story of the day comes to us from Gamatsu. Yakuza, Like a Dragon, has Sujimon collection element. Become a Sujimon master.
So the funny thing here is it's a Pokemon parody, where they're calling it Sujimon because Kenji Sugimori is the name of the creator of Pokemon.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
his name is Kenji, but
yeah,
it's Sugimori. But
yeah. I'm looking at the screenshots now. There's not much in the way of details. There's dungeons, sub stories. Of course, there's sub stories in a Yakuza game.
you get
Um,
your start of Yasuko of red, blue, or green.
yeah, there you go. Battle arena. So it's more Yakuza goodness. If all the games play like Yakuza 0, I'd be a completely happy person. I'm totally
But
down for that.
Kiryuan is back apparently.
Yep, Kiryu's back. Gojima or Majima Goro is back as well. That's a fun character. Um, and Taiga Sashima. So just a lot of the old school Yakuza
The main character
characters.
is Kasuga, but so I'm guessing Kiryu is gonna have a large part of the plot, but he's not gonna be like, and he's probably gonna be a playable character, but he's not gonna have his own storyline.
Yeah. Freak Five says gives you stronger weapons, but the monsters in the area are immune to them. Yeah, I hate that stuff. When you get a really powerful weapon and then you come up across a monster right away that's immune to that particular weapon, it really sucks. All right,
You can
Eric.
get the Moogle. You can get the Moogle like item that undoes Moogle though. Eventually.
Yeah. All right, Eric. What do we got next?
Um, Next we've got Little Busters is coming to the Switch, and there's only a Japanese release window for now, but um, I'm pretty sure it's going to be localized
All right.
because I think Little Busters already was localized on PC,
Yeah.
which released like 2 years ago.
It's a visual novel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. What do we need to know about this, Eric?
And the Switch version will feature full touchscreen support, so you can use the touchscreen to advance the text and stuff. Dynamic switching between English and Japanese text. So yeah,
That's kind of cool.
so if you don't want to, if you can't wait for the US eShop release, you can just buy it from the Japanese shop.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyways, event CG not visible on the single screen, you can scroll up and down as well as pinch to zoom out. I'm guessing some of the images that, like, are blown up and you might have to do that, but
Yeah.
I wonder if the game supports flip grip so you can play it vertically. And it will just readjust for that.
Yeah, Eric, are you reading what Freak 5 is saying? He said you missed his point. As a Moogle, you can't use items, so the Moogle item to remove Moogle is useless.
Yeah, but another character might be able to. I never found a situation where all three characters were Moogled.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on this, Eric?
Um, let's see, not really. Unless
Okay.
you want to learn about what it's about.
Nah, let's not spoil visual novels. That's the whole point of visual novels, man. All right, let's move on to the next story.
I've wanted to buy this game on Steam, but like never had the time to like pour the money to get it. So
Yeah.
I'll just wait for the Switch release.
Yeah, there you go. All right, next story also from Gamatsu. Metal Max Xeno Reborn launches March 26, 2020 in Japan. So there it is. That's the release date. There's some new information. Appearance of the world has changed from its existing near future-esque look to something that matches the tone of the game.
Oh, he's talking about Final Fantasy Adventure when you get turned removable. Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah. Numerous enemies will appear on the field. Remains exploration has been removed with 3 characters and 1 animal. The field of exploration has expanded, and immersion and tension have increased. Battles use a, quote, dynamic multi-range battle system. You can now attack according to your distance from the enemy. There are long, short, and normal ranges, I guess. Okay. In battle, players select a command for each character's turn that arrives, with turns advancing in real time. Battles are faster than the previous game. That's always a plus. And dynamic battles will bring humans, vehicles, and dogs together as one. So you can read more about that game.
This sounds more and more like the game it should have been.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Eric.
Because Zeno is not a particularly great game.
Yeah. All right, what do we got next? Hopefully this next will be better.
But we've got a Final Fantasy VII Remake demo and Patapon store PS and PlayStation Store listings.
Yeah.
So the demo's probably coming out soon, and Patapon 2 is finally getting a release as a remastered title.
I think, didn't we
So I wonder if
mention?
they'll do 3 eventually as well.
It depends on how 2 does commercially, I bet. I think 1 was pretty successful, if I can remember, Eric.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's on sale.
Hmm. That's interesting. Good question. All right. Anything else on that, Eric, before we move on?
Just those two things.
Okay. Next story comes from Gamatsu. Root Film launches April 23rd, 2020 in Japan. Hifumi Kono directed mystery adventure game gets a release date. So it's going to be 6,800 yen from Katakawa Games. Pre-orders will open the 25th, which was a couple days ago. It'll include the Treasured Footage Collection, which is a bonus DVD of the RIS concert at Katakawa Games Grand Festival 2019, and a behind-the-scenes look at the studio recording of the Root Film theme song. So that's kind of interesting. Also plans to open its own online store, Kadoge store, on December 26th, which was yesterday. I don't have that website yet, but I'm sure it's out there. Character designed by Taro Mino. The mystery adventure game features a story involving dual protagonists, video tricks, unexpected plot twist, innovative CG, and more. Protagonist Rintaro Yagumi and Riho are voiced by Wataru Kamada and Himika Aken. Where's Breakman when you need him? Akeneya, respectively. With other lead characters voiced by the members of voice actor idol unit Riz, as well as Noriko Hidaka and Yuko Minaguchi, who returned for their roles in Root Letter. So there you go. There's the story. All right, Eric. Anything else on that?
No, not really. But we can move on to the next story. Okay.
Yeah,
this is about 13 Sentinels.
Freak 5 is exiled. So there you go, Freak 5. All right, next story.
13 Sentinels Aegis Rim early purchase bonus will include Princess Crown PS4 port. And the game will launch January 31st, 2020 in Japan. I'm hoping that Princess Crown not only gets sold separately, but also finally gets localized.
Yeah. Black Cat's Tale says, this is all news to me. Last RPG I played was Duke Nukem 3D. I am 42. I don't remember Duke Nukem being an RPG, Black Cat, but maybe I'm completely wrong. Freak 5 is exiled again. So there you go.
So anyways, this port of Princess Crown will be based on the PSP version of the game. So don't expect widescreen support.
Okay, that sucks. It must be like really hard to take a retro game like that and do widescreen, because a lot of them don't.
I was kind of mad that La Mulana 2 didn't have widescreen support, considering it was built in Unity, which is an engine completely separate from the first games.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm older than everybody in the room.
Like,
right
how
now.
old is Freak? I thought he was like
52.
To...
He says he'll be 52 in a couple of weeks. So I mean.
Well, you're like what, 60?
How dare you? How dare you, Eric? Okay. Anything else on this, Eric?
I'm gonna say no. That's it. Pretty much
right.
it. Unless there's no price listing here. Never mind.
Okay. Next story comes to us from Gamatsu, another romance visual novel, Nurse Love Syndrome and Nurse Love Addiction for Switch, coming west on, well, yesterday. It's already here. Did you pick these up, Eric?
Frank is 60 trillion.
Freak 5 says Frank is 60 trillion. How dare you?
No, I didn't pick up any of the Nurse Love games, but I might get them on the Switch.
Yeah.
Black Cat... they're like fan servicey, but like they're not erotic, so them being on Switch isn't a problem.
Yeah.
But I imagine the kind of content involved is why they skipped the PS4.
Yeah, Black Cat Tail, he says, I got Steam working on BSD. I have to try these. Visual novels are fun. They're more relaxing. It's a more of a relaxing thing than anything. It's not like a first person shooter where it's like really chaotic and hectic and it's stressful at times, especially for me. Last time of the decade for me to get exiled, got to get the jabs at Frank. Yeah, yeah, you get the tens exiled. The final. I wonder who's going to get the final tens exile. My bet's on Freak Five for sure. All right, Eric. Next story.
Next story is about Dragon Quest: The Adventure of Dai. Not only is this going to get a new anime, it's also going to get a game,
Oh.
and it was based on the old ass Weekly Shonen Jump manga,
Mm-hmm.
which ran from '89 to '96.
Yeah.
And let's see, the game's being developed by Square Enix internally, apparently,
Yeah.
and produced by Ryotaro Ichimura. And they never said what hardware that they were actually going to develop the game on for.
Yeah. Black Cat says, I've got an open mind. First person shooters have a lot going on. My 42-year-old brain cannot handle it nowadays. Black Cat, you're in good company here, man. There's a lot of old fogies like myself and Freak 5 and a lot of older people. I don't know how old Wyland is, but I'm guessing he's not quite as old as I am, but not young enough to be, in that selfie crew, as they say. But Eric's not that old. But anyways, so
I'm not quite 40 yet, but I'm getting there.
he's getting there. Yep. He goes. Black Cat says, "Here to us OGs for sure." All
I'm
right.
the only millennial on this podcast.
All right, Eric. Anything else on that?
um, anyways, no, other than the fact that I hope that this version of Dai actually gets localized in some form, if not both.
Is it going to be just like a Dragon Quest game? I'm wondering because if it is,
I'm guessing it
I'm
just it won't have Akira Toriyama's art style because Dai didn't use him as the artist
yeah, that's fine with me.
or the writer.
I'm okay as long as it keeps the same gameplay. All right. Next story comes to us from Siliconera. Mega Man X Dive will dive into your smartphones in Q1 2020. So we haven't heard much about the release date, but it'll be in Q1. So it's a smartphone title. I don't. How excited are people for this? Maybe Breakman is excited. I don't know. Yeah, Wyland says he thinks Eric and him are the same age.
I'm 36, so
Yeah, you're getting there, Eric. So there you go. Weapons design contests and all that stuff for Mega Man X. Anybody play Mega Man in chat? I know Breakman's huge on Mega Man, so is Eric.
I just hope that this game does well enough that they consider porting it to another platform.
Yeah, that's the only.
I don't want to have to buy a gamepad to play this game.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Eric, what do we got for the last story?
Last story is Sega is consolidating two of its divisions into a single company.
That's
Sega
interesting.
Sammy announced that they'll be consolidating two of their subsidiaries, Sega Games and Sega Interactive, into one company just called Sega.
Yeah, I think this is about time. I've said this for how long, Eric? Like it seems like there were way too many divisions within Sega. I don't know how they maintained that for that long. So it's not, to me it's not a big
Well,
deal.
localization branches aside, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So this is probably good business. Hopefully not a lot of people lose their jobs or they get just consolidated and nobody loses their
I mean,
jobs.
technically, Sega of Europe does development, but not really. It's mostly port work.
Yeah. All right, so that is the news, everybody. The phone lines are open. If you want to call in, now's the time to do so. There's still homie discounts. I think we went over the homie discounts last week, Eric, with the holiday sale and stuff like that. I think we already did the games with gold too.
Well, they're still going on. That's all I want to let people know.
Yeah, those are still going on. You're still
And
getting.
we'll talk about round two's deals next week.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
that's when it starts.
Yep. Let's see. Wyland says he's a year older than Eric. That makes him 37. Freak 5 says Black Cat get Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition on Steam. Yeah. Look, I think it's a free game, isn't it? It's not Neverwinter. That's the free one. But yeah. Anyways, so there you go. That's the news, and we're sticking to it. The sales we'll talk more about next week. No Dear Breakman this week because Break is not feeling too well and not here today. So
Dear Breakman, get well. There we go.
There you go. So that leads us to this.
Inquiring minds want to know.
Inquiring minds want to know what you've been playing, Eric.
First of all, I've been watching like this small anime GIF video of like The Last of Us 2 in the corner of the screen, and I just noticed that the fungal zombies kind of remind me of the Cornflake Homunculus character that Jim Sterling made for his Jimquisition videos.
That's a funny observation.
Now I can't unsee it because I thought of it.
Yeah, it's like pareidolia, man. Visual pareidolia. You're never gonna be able to unsee that. Yeah, Neverwinter's free to play. Neverwinter Nights on Steam is $20, so that's not that bad. Freak 5 for the content you're getting with that. What else you been playing, Eric?
You always buy the way too expensive Switch version, which is $50.
Yeah, fuck that. All right, what have you been playing, Eric?
I've been playing more Control, more London Detective Mysteria, and I finished Control, and I got a review for that later. And I started playing Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah, okay. I played a little bit of MPQ. I played Yakuza 0 and finished that game. I'll have a quick review of that later. And I started Yakuza Kiwami. I don't know if I want to get too far into Kiwami. I want to do probably Spider-Man. I haven't played Spider-Man yet, or more Kingdom Hearts 3. I'm kind of undecided on that. But Yakuza 0 is good stuff, man.
Neverwinter Nights has not been developed by an EU developer, but
it's not an indie developer, Black Cat, but it may as well be. It's not a huge developer developing that game. Like, there's a small crew. I mean, your money would be well spent on that game for sure. So Freak 5 wouldn't steer you wrong. Neverwinter's a good game to spend a little cash on for sure. All right, let's move on, Eric, to
RPGrinders reviews.
All right, we got a few reviews. We are going to do Star Wars, but let's hold off on that until the end so we can double team that, Eric. But you have a review. You have a couple of reviews. Let's get through those reviews.
The one I forgot to do last week.
Okay, let's do those reviews as quick as we can. And I agree with you, Black Cat. I like supporting the little guy as well. There's plenty of recommendations we could give you. I'll think of a few and I'll give you recommend. Axiom Verge is a good one if you've never played that. That might be.
Axiom Verge 2 is going to be a thing this year.
Yep. So yeah, and that's one dude that did that entire game. So I would definitely recommend Axiom Verge for sure. Especially if you like old school, like Metroid type, Metroidvania type games. Those are. I would recommend that probably first and foremost. All right, your review of Walking Dead, Telltale's Walking Dead.
Formerly Telltale because Telltale doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I guess we can call it Skybound, even though they technically didn't make the game; they just took the rights.
Yeah, well, it's definitely Skybound for sure. They own it, so.
Yeah, and I think the next thing they're going to do is working on porting the other seasons of The Walking Dead, because they only just recently got done with the first season on Switch.
Yeah.
But,
right.
Anyways, the final season, I liked it. I liked it more than New Frontier, because the story was just a little bit more coherent, and the characters were more entertaining. and it's basically just them coming to this community of just children who are basically at the school for troubled youth, and they were there when the apocalypse happened, and they've been living there since, but things are getting harder for them. And things get even harder when you guys show up.
Yeah.
So it's Clementine and AJ.
That's an epic tale. Like that spans like what, like 3-4 seasons, Eric?
Yeah, this is the 4th season if you don't count Michonne and that other short stories game.
Yeah. I want to play all of those. I played the first season. I thought it was fantastic, and I definitely want to get into the rest. I did purchase that.
So I played it on PS4, and like I noticed that unlike the previous seasons, you can't just get a platinum by beating a game because there are collectibles, so you can actually miss achievements. You're not guaranteed them.
Yeah.
You kind of have to go out of your way to get them, which is kind of annoying.
Wow. Wyland says shots were fired outside of his place of employment. Be careful, Wyland. That's I don't know if you're there now, but definitely be careful.
But the ending is, there's only one ending, and it does seem like a bit of a cop out because something happens that in the first season led to like a consequence immediately, and the way they wrote it, like they kind of ignored that. Yeah. That's all I could say without spoiling anything. But
yeah.
But I know I could rationalize it, but I'm not going to tell you here because then it would spoil it. So
yeah. All right.
So all I'm saying is that it can be rationalized, but it's also kind of a stretch.
Yeah. Okay. It says I'm unavailable. That's weird. Let me see if I can give you a ring. All right.
You kind of have to keep the Skype window open in order to notice people. I've noticed that.
It's open. I just don't. Let me see if I can find. What's your
score? I'm gonna give it a 9.
Yeah, Freak 5. What's your handle, and I'll try to add you as a contact. All right. Black Cat says things got nuts since Trump got in. But
what area of California do you live in, Wolfie?
Yeah. I have no idea. Yeah, he's gonna try. Freak 5's gonna try again. Just give me your handle, Freak 5, and I'll add you. I think I'm on a different Skype. Try Frank Branches. Here, Freak. Try Frank Branches. I think I switched. That's my bad. Just try Frank Branches, and that might get you on in. I don't know what's going on. I think I'm not 100% sure. I thought I was. Yeah. See that it. I don't even. Oh wait, here we go. There's more. No, I don't even have. I don't. Yeah, it's on Frank Branches. Freak 5. Try Frank Branches. That might work. Okay, now you have another review, Eric, for Control.
Yeah. Control is Remedy's latest game, and you could tell because there's a lot of jank in the game, including performance disparities, is what I'd say, because it may be like them being so comfortable with the Xbox architecture that they, when they made this game, they weren't exactly familiar with the Sony architecture of the PS4. So there's a lot of performance issues that existed even after the patch that came out to address those. There might still be more patches, but I didn't have the luxury of that when I played. But otherwise, it's mostly fine. 30 FPS most of the time. It's just like it usually chugs when particle effects and smoke and dust and shrapnel go everywhere, and there's enemies all across the screen. Otherwise, it's mostly stable. But it's kind of funny a game called Control can't keep control of its own performance.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like a spiritual successor to Alan Wake because you're dealing with a lot of the same type of situation. It's just instead of uh, almost Lovecraftian horror. It's more um, otherworldly horror because like some beings from an alternate dimension are creeping into reality, and you got to deal with them infecting everybody else.
Yeah.
But the story is kind of hard to follow, and like the game and the story is interesting, but like one of the most annoying things about the game is that it's a problem that existed since the induction of the HD era because they've always had an issue with text sizes in games, and when your text sizes are small and your font isn't bold and it's against a background that makes colors garish, it's hard to read. But like at least they went with the color scheme of black and white, like because like you're reading a lot of documents, so it's printed on paper, so it's a white paper with black text. But even that's still hard to see. It's annoying as crap that you can't zoom in, and they didn't think of that. That was so stupid of them.
Oh yeah. So what are you giving Control, Eric?
I'm gonna give it an 8.5.
Okay.
Platinum the game, so it's easy to platinum.
Black Cat, I'm gonna try to add you here in just a second. So there you go. 8.5, not a bad score for Control. I've heard good things. I definitely want to.
If you have an Xbox One X, just get it on that platform.
Yeah, I have it on, or I have that. So there you go. Okay. Let's see. Freak 5, you are in the house and perfect timing because we're going to be talking about Star Wars Rise of the Skywalker. Probably a few spoilers. Was that a harmonica? That was a cowbell?
No, I don't have a harmonica.
I was going to say, man.
Dogs moving around. One of the dogs that move around their dog bowl.
Okay. All right. Star Wars Rise of the Skywalker, probably some spoilers, so if you haven't seen it, you're going to want to turn your mic down or your speakers down. I liked it okay. I wasn't enamored with it. But I'll let you guys discuss, and I'm going to try to add Black Cat here, and what do you guys think? Rise of the Skywalker. Freak, you said you had a lot to say about it, so let's get into it.
I loved it. I thought it was a great movie. It's like the story could have been better, but I had no problem with it and hit lots of nostalgic points for me.
Yeah, it definitely had the nostalgia factor for sure. You had, a special appearance by Lando. You had Han in there even in kind of a memory role. Leia.
I don't know. I don't think that was a memory. I think that was Leia.
You think that was Leia? That's an interesting theory. That's the first I've heard of that.
Well, why not? I mean, like
I think
Ben has the same power to like use illusions, so why can't she?
I guess.
Yeah, and she was holding the medal that Han got at the end of New Hope, and so that probably helped her kind of focus the appearance because it was a personal object of his.
Yeah, I guess I could see that. I had a lot of problems with it. I didn't think it was a 100% good send off, to be honest with you. It's hard to explain into words how I feel about that movie. Like it was fine, I guess, to me, but it wasn't.
I mean, it doesn't help that like JJ really had no plan going into the movie.
Yeah, see, that's what I was gonna say. It seemed a little jumbled, to be honest with you, and that's probably because the original vision was definitely cut short. So,
not to mention you just scrapped whatever Johnson had done in the previous film.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
He didn't completely scrap it. They acknowledged things, but like at the same time, they didn't run with them.
Yeah, that's kind of the problem that I had with it. Like the original villain was supposed to be Snopes all the way through, and it devolved into more nostalgia with Palpatine, and then there was a ludicrous plot twist with Ray that I was like, okay, I'm okay with it, but I just
But they could have done something better here.
yeah. Yeah. Black Cat says J.J. Abrams has been a disappointment. Nothing beats Lucas. That's not entirely true, Black
Actually,
Cat.
yeah,
Lucas,
I don't credit Lucas too much because he's a bad writer.
I liked Lucas's first initial trilogy, 4, 5, and 6. I'm revisiting the first three, episode 1, 2, and 3, just so I can get a better sense of where these final three films fall in my understanding and liking of the series. Another thing I noticed about it, and it wasn't a knock on it, actually is a plus. It's more of, how like the original trilogy to me was very goofy, right? On purpose.
Yeah.
It was goofy on purpose.
It
The-
was a Buck Rogers joint, basically.
Yeah, the last three movies took more of a darker, kind of more mature kind of mentality going into it, which I kind of appreciated because if you think about it, the people that watched the original trilogy eventually grew up, and beyond grew up in my
Yeah, Star
my
Wars
case.
was always for kids, but like,
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I grew up with Star Wars. I was born the year it came out.
yeah. You're an old fogey, not as old as me, but I'm
Or
looking
maybe,
for.
I guess it was the year after, but it's 77, I guess.
Yeah, Black Cat. I'm still looking for you on Skype. I don't. I can't seem to find you, but I'll keep looking. But anyways, what else, Freak?
Okay. Well, I had lots of thoughts watching this. For instance, this is a theory I just came up with while I was watching, and I want to hear your ideas on this.
Mm-hmm.
During the prequels, then for thousands of years before that, the Jedi Temple was going out into the galaxy, and they were finding the kids who had Force potential, bringing them back to the Jedi Temple to train them.
Mm-hmm.
After he brings to the Sith, that is not happening. And so it mentions multiple times how the First Order is kidnapping all the kids they can. And it says that they're training them as stormtroopers, but yeah, we know that the aliens are probably being used as slave labor. And so it's the humans who are trained as stormtroopers. And we have the stormtroopers like Finn, and then the other ones they find on the moon of Endor that have broken out of the training and the brainwashing or whatever, and deserted the First Order. And so my theory is that those are the people who the Jedi Order would have taken in to train as children. And so it's their Force capabilities are what helped them break through from the brainwashing of being a stormtrooper.
Ooh,
yeah, I think so too.
that's
'cause,
an
like,
interesting theory, and that actually makes.
Cause, like, even though there's a plot point of Finn being Force sensitive, like they never really expanded on it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's just a hit there, and so they don't explain it, but I think that's what they're going for.
Yeah, I actually think you're correct on that. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going around, a lot of theories, a lot of stuff like that I was watching, and it a lot of it is interesting, but a lot of it is kind of nonsense, because it's not confirmed or denied by anybody. But that theory actually makes a ton of sense, because why else would those stormtroopers break out of that mentality? There has to be a reason. Weiland is an expert on a lot of things Star Wars, so I wonder what Weiland has to say.
As
about
for
that,
me, I like the movie because they're like, if you can get through all the incoherent nonsense that J.J. Abrams put the movie through, and even like the BS aside from the way that Kelly Marie Tran was treated. Oh, by the way, Rose is in the movie, but only for like 2 minutes. But like, she's in the movie there just to say, in case you thought she died in the previous movie, she's not.
Oh yeah, yeah. There was a lot of. Yeah.
But like if you're willing to put up with all that, I think there's still a message in the movie that's good, and which makes the movie really enjoyable for me. But aside from that, the finale, the climax of the movie, It goes full anime, and I almost wanted to laugh in the theater because, and I love the movie alone for just that. It if you've seen enough anime and like final bosses and RPGs, then you'll know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
And it in itself was actually a reference to another Lucas film.
Yeah. Black
well,
Cat.
I also have another. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Black Cat. I sent an invite on in the chat, so might make things a little bit easier. So, all right. What were you saying,
Well,
Freak Five?
I also have a kind of a prediction on where they may go from here.
Mm.
Okay.
I think.
New Jedi
Uh,
Order is what I think.
Yeah.
Well, they're gonna be called the Skywalkers, is my guess. It's like the name Jedi probably came from somebody who started the Jedi Order is probably named Jedi, and so that's why it's the Rise of Skywalker. So the people who are using the Force will probably be called Skywalkers eventually.
That was a huge missed opportunity. I'm glad you brought that up, Freak Five. Okay, here's a spoiler for anybody. I know I did spoiler warnings, but Rey is actually the granddaughter of Senator Palpatine or Emperor Palpatine.
Which is a theory people already cooked up in their heads, and they basically just confirmed it.
Right.
No, I kind of have problems with that because the age you see her parents when they abandoned her or protected her by abandoning her,
Right.
then he would probably have been the emperor when her dad was conceived, and so her grandmother was probably a slave or treated like pretty horribly.
Yeah,
It probably was not her choice.
There were theories on that too, and one of the theories was that that I think it was in what was it, the Clone Wars, where they showed that chick next to Emperor Palpatine when he was in the Senate. Either that one or there was another strong candidate, but therein lies the big problem that I had. They missed a huge opportunity, and they could have turned a huge negative into a positive. So the reveal was that she was, Palpatine's granddaughter. But instead of using the Skywalker name, like, why not try something different and just name her Palpatine? And then that could have changed a force of evil into a force of good. I thought that would have been a perfect ending to that whole thing, And then we get rid of Skywalker. We get rid of all of and then we could start a new Palpatine, story from there on in. It just, to me, it didn't make a lot of sense. Wyland says the ending is a plot hole.
It's almost as if the last line of that is she wasn't being serious because it was a joke, and the movie was over.
Yeah, I know. Black Cat. Sorry you're still in the hospital, man. I know you were having a tough time, and we'll get it straightened out so you can call in for sure, Black Cat. Do you have like an actual handle, or is that email address that you gave me your handle? I'll work on it. Sometimes Skype is kind of squirrely, so I don't know where the disconnect at. Dungeon's in chat, a good friend Dungeon. What's up, Dungeon? He says one theory hints back at what Palpatine said about Darth Plagueis. How he could manipulate midi-chlorians to create life. Possible that Palpatine could have done the same. That's true, too. Rise of the Skywalker was like 2 or 3 movies. That's another thing, Dungeon. I felt there was too much. I was even commenting to Bernie.
There was the Rey and Kylo Power Hour, and then there was the other hour of them doing a fetch quest as an RPG.
Yeah. I felt... Yeah, I really felt like at least they should have broke it up into 2 movies. Like, I know the whole thing was, we want to do trilogies, but the way Abrams did it, he crammed too much into that movie, and there was easily enough material for 2 movies. But what do we know? We're just fans and whatever. But go ahead.
But I also think, along with the end, how all the Sith were with Palpatine and all the Jedi were with Rey. I think that the Sith and the Jedi are with Rey now, and that the future will be her training Jedi, and they'll be using both aspects of the Force. So they're not going to be light side or dark side. It'll be kind of a mix of both.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, which makes sense. That makes sense. Wyland says Palpatine created Anakin, though, so Rey being a Skywalker makes sense. It makes sense, Wyland, but I felt it was a missed opportunity. Like if she had taken the Palpatine name and worked for good from that point on, like it would have totally ended everything nostalgia with Star Wars and started something completely kind of brand new, in my opinion. I just thought it was a wasted opportunity. It was a small
No,
observation.
there's much baggage in the world with the name Palpatine.
Yeah, but
People will expect her to be evil. She'd have evil people rallying to her name and thinking that she supports what they were doing.
yeah. Well, that would have been good subterfuge for her for the rest of her being. Like I don't know. I just thought it was. I thought it was like a wasted opportunity in my opinion. Dungeon says I think Abrams did the best he could with one film to try and tie everything. Yeah, I agree with that too.
I can't blame Abrams too badly because a lot of the decisions in this movie are up to like to the execs rather, and he's just there to do a job.
Yeah. All right, let's curtail the Star Wars talk for now. There's plenty more to talk about, but I want Breakman
No, hold on a second. I have a couple more thoughts I wanted to bring in here.
Yeah, go ahead.
First one with Chewbacca getting the medal at the end.
Chewbacca
For all this time, was he passive aggressive about that medal?
Like my medal.
It's like when Han and Leia are fighting and
it's like we couldn't figure out how to make one large enough for your neck.
And Han's bitching about it. Because Chewbacca just grumbles like, at least she gave you a medal. Or like in Empire Strikes Back when she's like, I'd rather kiss a Wookiee. Is he grumbling? It's like, oh, but you want to give me a medal.
Yeah, that's a good point. I could definitely see that. What was your other observation, Freak 5?
Okay, this last one. Have you read the Thrawn trilogy?
I have not, but I know kind of what's going on in that trilogy. So what were your...
Well, part of their story in there is searching for a fleet of ships that went missing during the Old Republic.
Yes.
And what's special about those ships is that they are connected through a slave circuit or something, so that one ship can fly the rest of them, and they go with that one ship. And it was also so these ships could be manned by a small crew.
Sure.
And it's like, that is the feel I got, that was the basis for the Emperor's fleet.
That's interesting.
Especially once you had the one tower that's supposed to give them the coordinates for them to leave the planet, but then they're able to shift that to one ship that they would all be following out of there.
Yeah. Let me read chat real quick. Wyland says, if the Palpatine we saw was a clone body with his essence in it, then what's to say he can't come back again? And then Dungeon says, the Dark Horse comics even tackled this with Clone Palpatine. Emperor had a hidden base with clones of himself for his essence should he die, but that's all non-canon. Yeah, but that's what I thought. All the people in the audience that were all Palpatines, weren't they? That's what I thought they were. So anyways, Dungeon says, send him by Palpatine. Yeah, exactly. If there's a Hot Toys figure, but yeah. No, that's interesting. But you brought up the fleet too, Freak 5. I think that makes sense on the fleet. You know, why there was a fleet just available to Palpatine in you know where he was. What's that planet like? Mexigal or Hexagal. Okay. The other problem that I had was all of a sudden these ships have Death Star capability. It took 10 years, at least what was it, 10 to 20 years to make the Death Star, and all of a sudden this whole fleet has Death Star capabilities.
Okay.
Really?
Well, this is 30 years later.
Yeah, but
and so you have I think this was a long time plan because the Force was telling him what he needed to do and showing him the future. And so everything that happened in the first three movies, he knew what was going to happen. And because the Force showed him. So while he was making the Death Star here, he was also making these ships there. Because you have the Wayfinders. It's like there's one on the second Death Star, so that's a secret planet. So obviously that planet's already a secret there. And like the Wayfinder that Kylo Ren found, that was on what's the fucking planet? Damn it, Mustafar. Yeah,
Yeah.
Mustafar.
Yeah.
In Vader's old palace there, and so Vader knew where this planet was.
Okay.
And so this was a secret planet. These were already being built. I don't know if they were intended to have the Death Star laser on them initially, but it's 30 years, well, 40 years maybe, since the Death Star was first conceived. And so they could have came up with a way to make it smaller in that time, or smaller in that time. Kind of the same way the Star Killer kept it the same size, but they made it more powerful so that they could send it farther across the galaxy.
Yeah.
It's like two different teams were working on the Death Star laser. One found a way to improve it, make it smaller. The other found a way to improve it to make it bigger. Or make it more powerful.
Yeah, I don't know. The build up to the Death Star, and then all of a sudden we make the leap to every ship being a Death Star. Just, I don't know. That just didn't cut it for me. The other thing that I found kind of funny, you know, the dagger that Rey found? Why was that, like the Death Star was only like 10 years old. That had to have been a relic, that dagger. So how in the world did that dagger know that the Death Star was going to be in that exact broken up state to where Rey could find the what they call the what was it, the Wayfinder? Like, really? Like that?
I think that dagger was made later. It was probably made after the Death Star crashed. This is 30 years in the future.
It looks too clean.
So they knew that whoever made that knew that the Death Star was going to be in that condition, and they knew to perfectly etch that dagger into
they made it after it was in that condition.
So somebody was there after the Death Star had fallen and made that dagger right then and there with that in mind. And they knew that the Wayfinder was in there.
The Emperor was probably there, and that's probably how he survived. Well, however he survived, he was there after it crashed. So, and he knew what.
Leia could have survived an explosion in space. I imagine it's much easier for the Emperor.
Yeah, I just thought that was kind of weird as well. Wyland says, I like that this movie canonized Darth Revan. I haven't heard Darth Revan in a long time. He says the audience was the Sith Eternal cult. There has to be something that some kind of comic book or something that I missed, or maybe a novel that I missed to do that. I just assumed it was clones of Palpatine. That could be. You're probably right, Wyland. Wyland's really good with Star Wars law.
But my problem with the Death Star ruins, it should have been full of Dionygus.
Yeah. Yeah. Dungeon says, I took it that the Emperor knew about Exegol for a long time, maybe even before he became Emperor. So it's possible the Wayfinder and the dagger were made earlier. Yeah, I guess. I mean, maybe. Visual Dictionary, Wyland says. So I don't want to get into too much more. We'll talk more next week when Break is here. What are you giving Rise of Skywalker? Freak 5.
I'm giving it a 9.
Okay. What about you, Eric?
I'm going to give it an 8.5.
I'm going to give it a 7. I thought it was kind of jumbled. I thought the action was fun. I thought the characters were pretty fun. But there was also not a lot of chemistry between characters. Like, we're used to the Hans and the Leias and all that. And I understand that there's going to be a disconnect there with new characters. But none of the new characters really have that it factor for me. Not even as hard as they try. Like Rey,
the movie was like rush though. So
yeah,
there was no time for them.
I know. That's why I was saying they should have broken it up into 2 movies. So I give it a 7. I thought it was above average, but not much more. I didn't do my Yakuza review, but real quickly, Yakuza 0 is awesome. I'm giving it an 8.5. It gets you kind of close to Japanese culture, like the Yakuza culture. The characters are relatable as much as, criminals can be relatable. And I highly recommend playing the Yakuza series, at least Yakuza 0. It's fun. and I give
Now,
it an
you, now you
eight and a
play
half.
Kiwami where Majima will just pop out of a sewer pipe or something.
Yeah, I'm playing that now, and I got my ass kicked by
Then you can
Majima.
play 6 and play Toss the Baby.
Yeah, I just started Kiwami, but it's fun. 8.5 for Yakuza Zero. The reason I don't give it higher, um, there's a weird lack of voice acting in some places, which I find kind of odd. I like half.
Well, considering the voice talent that's in the games, as usual, they are pricey, so
Yeah,
they could probably only afford to have so much voice acting.
there's no question about that. That it's kind of pricey,
Especially
but
since voice acting in Japan's a much more lucrative and legitimate career path than it is in the U.S.
yeah, it just seems to me like when I really wanted voice acting, there was none. It's a minor annoyance for that game. Also, invisible walls. There's some invisible wall nonsense in the game, but overall, it's a fun ass game, and I highly recommend people play it. Yakuza Zero is a great game, and you should definitely try to play it. It's a
Are you
fun.
talking about like the map size, or are you talking about like areas of the game you just can't go to for
just
like
areas like
arbitrary reasons?
it'll look like you can go there and you just can't go there, and I don't like that about video games. Like if you're making a video game, especially a modern video game, like if you see it, you should be able to go to it, and if you're not able to go to it, you should just cut it out of your game or make it an actual blockade or something. I think it's kind of lazy programming to do it that way, and we've talked about it
Well,
on the show before.
I think
Armchair
they got
programmer.
better.
Yeah.
They got better with Kiwami too, and Kiwami with that.
Yeah. I'm gonna play through the series, and I'm sure it gets better and better. Like already, I don't know if Yakuza
Well,
Zero.
3, 4, and 5 are gonna feel antiquated by comparison though, because they were made before Kiwami and Kiwami
Yeah.
2 and
Yeah.
0 were.
Well, probably, but I'm still gonna play them when they come out. There's that collection that comes out, I think in February. Then I'm gonna definitely pick up. But Zero's.
I'm gonna mute myself real quick. My wife wants me to eat dinner, but I'll still be listening.
Okay.
I'll jump back on when I'm done eating.
All right, man. Come on back. All right. But Kiwami is good. It definitely has a better frame rate. Like I don't know what the frame rate is on Zero. I'm guessing 30, but Kiwami has a really good frame rate. I'm guessing it's 60 because it seems a little smoother than the first one. And another thing I want to mention about Yakuza before we move on, Eric, is that there is tons to do in that game. Like there's literally like something for everyone in that game. If you want to collect cards, you can do that. If you want to race racing cars, like little remote control cars, you can do that. You can gamble. There's just so much to do in
I
that
found
game.
it absolutely hilarious that in Kiwami there is an arcade game that you can play that is based on another one of Sega's properties called I forget what it was called, but they basically took that concept and made characters all like Grivery idols instead.
Yeah.
They're all bugs.
Yeah.
And bug outfits.
That's cool. There's games that you can play on Yakuza 0 too. You can play Space Harrier.
Oh yeah, it was called Mushi King. And
you
they
can
called
play-
it like something else in that game.
Yeah. There's always something to do in Yakuza for sure. Yakuza 0. So I highly recommend playing it. So, all right. Let us move on to everybody's favorite segment. I'm going to keep my heistcapade for next week, Eric. But in lieu of that, let's do...
What is it?
Stinko of the week.
All right, this is going to be a little different. We're going to do our Stinkos of the week, but we're also going to do, if we have one, a Stinko of the decade, which should be fun. So, Eric, go ahead. Your Stinko of the week and your Stinko of the decade.
Stinko of the week would be I got two of them actually. Walmart stiffing their employees from holiday pay.
Oh boy, I heard about this.
Despite their record-breaking sales numbers.
Does this surprise you, Eric, at all?
But other than that, Disney doing dirty for Kelly Marie Tran, who played Rose in Star Wars: The Last Jedi, and for the like less than 2 minutes screen time she had in Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, she did not have a
She
lot of
had to
time.
do a tour for the movie, despite the fact she was only in it for so long.
Yeah.
And it's like they were capitulating to all the racist Star Wars nerds.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. All right, any your stinko of the decade?
And it was bad enough how she was treated in the Last Jedi, because like you've got this person of color in the movie, and then you write her in a way that is that felt a little disjointed, and she and her character arc is basically I screwed up, so now I need to almost die.
Yeah.
And she for a while she technically was dead until they decided to make her not dead.
Yeah. Okay. So again, your stinko of the decade.
Uh, that's an easy one. Cheeto.
The Cheeto Trump gets your stinko of the decade. Why so?
Or no, as an extension of that, let's just say the U.S. Um, society in general is my stinko of the decade,
Okay, I could see
because
that.
they really fell apart this decade.
Yeah.
It's like letting corporations get even more power,
Yeah.
and then having those corporations influence other politicians to let Trump gain the presidency.
Yeah, yeah. Black Cat says I'm pretty hopped up on painkillers. Sorry if I'm out of the natural order. Trust me, Black Cat, you fit right in, man. I mean, just look at just look at Freak
Yeah,
Five, for
I'm
instance.
calling him Cheeto because his hair is like the Cheeto color,
His whole face and
dirty and tacky, and
yeah, yeah. He's look. The easy thing for me would have been to have said Trump. He can get like a century stinko because, to be honest, Trump has
he's
been
been
an
shit for years, not
oh
just a
he.
decade.
I think since he was born, he was an asshole.
But
Like
I think this is like the worst decade he's been in existence. I think.
I don't know. I'd have to disagree. I think the decade where he wanted to kill 5 innocent kids with the Central Park Five, that was
Was that 20 years ago,
I think
or was that 30?
that was like 20, maybe 25 years ago. And I still remember it clear as day. Like he had a full page
Yeah,
ad
but he
and
said things like that since then. So
yeah,
it's
for
like,
sure. And he just pardoned that asshole Navy SEAL guy who killed civilians and people that were captured, and he was just an asshole. But Black Cat says Chester Cheetah has a higher IQ than Trump. Yeah, pretty much.
actually,
Um,
actually, I think you can classify Trump as a sociopath,
I agree. I agree. And
not a
many,
psychopath.
yeah. Here's the thing, like I thought about the easy answer being Trump, but I think I'm going to go with Mitch McConnell because if you remember at the beginning of the decade, wasn't it at the beginning of the decade, Eric, where he kind of stalled the nomination of Merrick Garland, who, by the way, Merrick Garland's not a saint and neither is Obama. But I just think back to Mitch McConnell and his like holding off on confirming the judge, Merrick Garland, and then all the bullshit that's come since. Like, there's been so many laws that have come to his desk that he's just let die, just because he's Mitch McConnell and he's the majority leader. Like, somebody needs to primary him the fuck out of office. Like, I know people have tried, and I don't have much hope that he's going to be put out of office because the person that they got running up against him is not a progressive. Amy McGrath is a Trump Democrat. Like I don't understand the love for her. She's not going to be much better than Mitch McConnell. So to me, the stinko of the decade goes to Mitch McConnell for sure. Also, the first 3 quarters of the decade were shit for me. I mean, I got divorced, I lost my kids, lost my house, lost my car. Um, you know, it couldn't have been much worse the first 3 quarters of the decade. But you know, That being said, we do have Sweetos of the Week and Decade, so let's get into those.
Dude, what does my tattoo say? Sweet!
Sweeto of the week.
So our Sweetos of the Week and Decade, Eric.
The sweet of the week would be, yeah, Xmas gifts. I got a story for one of them, but like, I did ask for a 4K TV, but I got like an iPhone 8, which is admittedly probably more expensive than the TVs were being sold at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just maybe next time. Whatever. But I like my iPhone 8. But
yeah.
I got the Sega Genesis Mini, but on when we did our little Christmas dinner and we did gifts, I ended up getting the Sega Flashback and having to tell them this wasn't the thing I told them about. Which it kind of annoys me because it's like I wrote the name of the thing on there, and if you had actually looked at the article that it was being featured in, you would have known what to look for.
Yeah. That happens, Eric. Like, people mistake stuff. So what's your Sweeto of the Decade?
Sweet of the Decade, joining RPGrinders, I guess.
Sweet, man. That's a cool one. That would be on my Sweeto of the Decade as well, man, for sure. We've been doing this show for damn near 12 years now. More than 12 years, Eric. Crazy. But yeah, for sure. My Sweeto is the last quarter of the decade. I mean, the first 3 quarters of the decade sucked, as I mentioned, but last quarter's been okay. I've had my ups and downs and stuff, but it is what it is, and it's gotten a lot better. And
Bernie says she got a Frank, like Frank's a Pokemon or something.
Yeah, gotta catch them all, for sure.
Catch all the Frankmons.
So yeah, the last quarter of the decade was cool. If I had to pick a Sweeto of the decade, gosh, I had one lined up, but what was it? Well, Bernie Sanders, like bringing progressive values to the forefront, like Medicare for all and stuff like that. Like I'm happy he's surging. So, it's really cool. He's number 1 in New Hampshire now. I think he's going to be number 1 in Iowa, even though the polls say Buttigieg. But he's number 1 in California, which is awesome to see. So there you go. Black Cat says, I'm glad Frank told me about this radio show. Yeah, it's been going, Black Cat, over 10 years for sure. I think we're on our 12th, 13th year. I lose track. We're up to episode 571. So, just me plugging along and Eric plugging along, and normally we have Breakman in here, and these guys have been with me for almost a decade, so it's cool stuff. So number 1 in Cali, Black Cat says. So that's encouraging news. Like if he takes California, I don't think he's I don't think it's gonna even be close. So that's really cool. I'm happy Bernie's surging, and I hope he wins this time, and I hope they don't fuck him over like they did the last time. I seriously considered making Hillary Clinton my stinko of the decade because she's, she was one of the worst candidates ever, and definitely talking shit now about Bernie isn't helping matters, and if he's the nominee, you can guarantee she's going to talk more shit then too. Yeah, HRC is a shitbird too, Black Cat says. There's no question she's a shitbird. She blames everybody but herself for her loss, and it really fucking sucks. So let's move on, Eric, to... I did your Sweeto.
Wait a minute, I'm back.
Oh, you're back, Freak 5. What's your Stinko of the decade and Sweeto of the decade?
Okay, well, my stink of the decade is just 2017.
Okay.
It's like my stepfather died, a couple of my friends died. I got laid off from my job like a month before I was there 20 years, and a couple of Mrs. Freak's family members died.
That's right, Freak 5. You were with us then, I think, and went through some of that. That was pretty gut wrenching. That's it was not a good year for you for sure.
Yeah, but Sweeto, I guess. Well, one, my new job's better, so there's that.
Yeah, there's
but,
that.
But really, my Sweeto of the decade would have to be my family. It's like, I guess the year before we adopted my daughter, but then 2010 in March, then we adopted my son.
Yeah,
Or
nice.
finalized the process of everything.
Very good. Very good. So let's move on to free for all. It kind of ties into all this.
It's a free for all.
Okay, free for all this week, best and worst of the decade. Now, we could do this by category. I could go down the road, but let's just. I'm curious. I didn't put any like specifics in that, so I'm curious, Eric. What are your best and worst of the decade? And I didn't specify anything, so it could be anything. Your best and worst of the decade.
This almost sounds a lot like the Sweeto and Stinkos we had for the decade. So
Yeah, but I didn't. I purposely made it very, very open so you could add anything, best and worst.
Best would probably have to be. I'm trying to remember what I did over the last.
All right,
2
you want
years.
me to go back to you, Eric?
Yeah.
All right, Freak 5, best and worst of the decade. I didn't specify movies, series, none of that. So you can take it for what it is.
I'm going to put some specifications here. So, like, first off, I'll start with the best podcast of the decade.
Oh, I mean, that's RPGrinders.
That's
I already
Zombie
know that.
Anonymous. The worst podcast of the decade.
How dare you?
RPGrinders.
How dare you? How dare you, son of a bitch? How
Hey,
dare
I'm
you?
just trying to get those exiles.
I'm not giving it
Oh,
to you.
let's
I know
see.
that's what you want. I'm not going to do it. Although you are in the lead. That's the thing. Freak 5, I think, is in lead in the all-time exile category. I think you're like ahead by like millennia, man. So I don't think you have to worry about your exile title at all. So, all right, how about we do this? Your best and worst TV show of the decade.
Oh, man. I'm not sure what the worst was.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm going to go with Fear the Walking Dead.
Okay, for the best.
That's the worst.
Oh, the worst.
No, for
okay.
the worst.
Okay, all right.
Oh,
What about best?
I'm gonna lump quite a few in there and put the Arrowverse as the best.
Okay.
Especially with Crisis of Infinite Earths. What's
Yeah.
been played, what they've aired so far has been awesome.
Yeah, Black Cat
It's like
says Fear of the Walking Dead was pretty bad. Yeah, Bernie says Frank is I'm Frank Sweeto of the decade. You could be Bernie.
I know. I was wondering. It's like I thought you would have said Bernie was your Sweeto of the decade.
Well, she definitely is up there for sure. No question, man. No question. If we're talking series, my best was Breaking Bad by far. Game of Thrones as well, although they kind of didn't stick the landing on Game of Thrones. Worst series of the year. Oh man, there's been quite a few. I have to think about the worst one, but I think the worst one I saw the past decade was Walking Dead. I think it's terrible. I know we disagree, Freak 5, but I can't think of a worse series than Walking Dead. The first 2 seasons were really good, and 3 was okay, but after that, like, it just, I don't know, fell apart for me, and to me, it just gets worse and worse. So I can't think of a much worse series than Walking Dead, to be honest. I mean, honestly.
Well, I'm enjoying it still.
Yeah.
I think each of the last few seasons, I think, have been getting better and better.
Yeah. I don't know. I think we see 2 completely different series. What about you, Eric?
And you're wrong.
No, you're wrong.
Okay, I'm gonna go with games for this.
Okay. Best and worst games of the decade.
All right, best games. Let's see. All the improbable, or previously thought to be improbable, localizations that happened over the last several years. Because we got a bunch of games that I never thought we'd see, like Trials of Mana got localized, and Romancing Saga 2 and 3 got localized, as well as Scarlet Grace. And Scarlet Grace is surprisingly getting a lot of positive reception.
Yeah.
And the worst of the decade would be everything Bethesda's done in the last 3 years.
Yeah. I could definitely see that, Eric, for sure.
Other than like stuff like Doom and Wolfenstein, like they've been on a downward spiral.
Yeah.
Especially with Fallout 76.
Yeah. Bernie's excited for The Walking Dead, and I'm like, ugh, what is exciting about it? Nothing, but whatever. Black Cat Tail says, worthwhile watch is Glitch. It's an Aussie TV show, but it's actually really an original idea. I heard about that, Black Cat. I'm into Aussie shows and movies, especially like the horror ones or the mystery horror ones. Wolf Creek is a good one. There were a couple of Wolf Creek movies that were pretty good if you like horror, but the series is really good, man. Like I was pleasantly
I got another
surprised.
worst of the decade, Frank being unable to pronounce wolf.
Oh, how dare you, you son of a bitch. How dare you? How dare you?
Oh, best of the decade?
Yeah.
Harmonica.
Oh God, you're exiled, son of a bitch. Jesus Christ. Let's see, best and worst movies. The best movie that I've seen there's a couple. Tucker and Dale versus Evil is a great movie, and I think a very underrated movie, to be honest. And I liked Us and Get Out a lot. Get Out especially. I think Get Out is probably my favorite.
What his next movie is?
What's that?
Do we know what the next movie they plan on doing is?
I have no idea, but anything that Jordan Peele does, I'm in, because he's proven his worth as far as a director goes, for sure. Weirdest Saucy show is called Welcome to Whoop Whoop. It's done to Rodgers and Hammerstein soundtrack. That's funny. That would be worth a watch, I think, but weird for sure. Worst movie I've seen over the decade, Rise of the Skywalker. No, just kidding. I'm totally kidding. I'm trying to think.
I think the worst movie I saw this decade was the Simpsons movie.
Ooh, that was pretty bad, man.
I am not sure when it came out, but I know I watched it this decade.
No, I think
time.
Ghost in the Shell is worse than The Simpsons. Sorry.
I'm gonna have to say Zombie Ass Toilet of the Dead was the worst movie of the decade.
I like Zombie Ass Toilet of the Dead. It was just stupid but fun. What was it?
So is the toilet made of ass, or is it just an ass zombie toilet?
No, you gotta watch that movie, man. It's batshit crazy. Black Cat says it's a series you want to watch with some weed in you. I want to watch any movie with weed in me, Black Cat. So that's not anything special for me. I'll do that for any movie or series. Matter of fact, when I go to the movies, there is not a movie I've seen lately that I haven't been completely off of my ass.
Yeah, he's
with
Frank
weed.
smokes up before he goes into the movie, and he brings in a bag of edibles with him.
Yeah, I forgot another best thing of gaming that I could have mentioned.
What's that?
Getting hooked on the Souls genre.
Oh, you said worst or best?
No, best.
Yeah, best is an apt. See, that probably could. I think Bloodborne is my best game of the decade. In all honesty, as much problems as I have with that game, it is really fun and it's really detailed. And if there's a game that I could recommend someone play that likes a challenge, it's Bloodborne. Bloodborne is an exquisite game, and
the worst game I've played this year, or not this year, this decade, isn't so much that it's bad. It's just a complete and utter disappointment. And that would be the most recent release of Contra Rogue Core.
Oh, Contra Rogue Core does look terrible. Bernie says Frank's got weed in him all the time. That's actually not true. You guys, I think I've told you guys this before, but every Friday when I do the show, I do not smoke weed, except after
No,
the
what
show.
you told
Frank, have you smoked so much weed that your blood turned green?
See, Frank, you can have weed in you without smoking it.
I
So-
agree, and I have
So
plenty.
so you're not smoking weed before the show, but do you have an edible or is it a suppository?
No, none of the above, man. No patches, no edibles, no suppositories, nothing. I am clean
No
on.
injections.
I am
No, he
clean.
snorts it.
I do not snort. I do not. I am perfectly clean for the show. So, Wyland, how dare you? He says he's more
He did a
weed than
Star
man.
Wars reference. He's
How
more
dare-
weed than a man now.
How dare you? How dare you, you son of a bitch? No, Bernie
Frank?
can attest to this. I don't have weed in my system. Well, I might
Darth
have weed in
Weeder.
my. I might have weed in my system, but it's not from the day of the show. Like it might be
Freak
from the
it.
night before or something. But after the show,
Frank has weedachlorians in him.
Weedachlorian. That's the name of this show for sure, man. Weedachlorian. I love it. But yeah, so that I mean, politics wise, I mean,
Rise of the Weed Walker.
the Rise of the Weed Walker. How dare you, Eric? You son of a bitch! Exiled. God damn it! Fucking A, man. That was good. That was really good, Eric. I think the worst thing to happen over the decade is obviously Trump getting in office. I think that's like the worst event. The best event, I can't even think of a really good event that happened. Other than more space exploration shit and discovering new planets and all that. But I don't think it could have been much worse than Trump. I guess it may be like if it was Hitler and Trump came in like a dictator and just totally like started killing people left and right. I guess that would be worse. But his policies, his way of doing things is not the way that I believe people should be treated. So I put that in the worst category. The best of humanity, look at somebody like Greta Thunberg, who's worried about climate change when people like Trump are, setting aside regulations and not worrying about, anything. There's been lots of highs and lows, and there'll be lots of highs and lows in the next decade. But looking forward to another decade of grinders. Like I said before, I don't plan on ending the show anytime soon. So, despite what Freak 5 says about us being the worst show, I think we're the best show. But that's just me.
I'm here listening every week, so that says something.
That's got to tell you something. It's got to tell you something. But you know how like people listen to shows when they're aggravated and pissed off. That's how I feel
It's
like.
like a train wreck.
Yeah, Freak 5, you're like my adversary or something. Like you listen to the show just to hear what you could like glean. Like I feel like you're gaining information all these times to like thwart me in my attempts to take grinders to the next level or something. But whatever. Black Cat says I got my account suspended on Twitter for wishing that Trump would die of massive coronary while he's awake. Black Cat, I said something similar, and I think I got banned for a day or two for saying something similar. So you're not alone, because fuck that fucking piece of shit Cheeto. Sorry it took me so damn long to listen to it. No worries, Black Cat. Nobody else listens, so I'm not gonna chastise you for not listening the past decade to my show. So no worries on that. Any final thoughts, guys, before we end the show and move on into the next decade? You, Freak 5?
I guess it's
I have
Stinko that I forgot to mention Break being sick and not being here.
Yeah, that's definitely a Stinko for sure. I was kind of hoping he'd be here, but he's sick. Everybody wish Breakman on Twitter well wishes.
He probably drunk too much on Christmas Eve, and so he's still drunk.
I think that's it. I think you hit the nail on the head, Freak 5. I think Breakman is on a hangover, and that's why he can't do the show. But he's, quote, sick. But we'll find out next week when he comes back. So,
Well, I have a lull.
okay, go for it.
So this year we got our kids iPhones for Christmas.
Oh, okay.
And so we've had them hidden, and Mrs. Freak, she wrapped them separately from their the iPhone case. Then she put both of those in a box and wrapped that. Did that a couple more times. I'm not sure how many boxes she had wrapped with a box inside of it.
Sure.
And so after all their presents were open. We gave them those two, and so they were both opening them at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
My son was a little quicker, got to the iPhone box first, and he got excited. And my daughter is just kind of looking at it. She's kind of excited, but not really.
Yeah.
And she gets into it and opens it further, and she finally gets to her iPhone box. She's still, her excitement's stamping down. Then as soon as she opens it and actually sees that there's a phone inside, then she gets excited.
So it was like delayed reaction.
No, she wasn't sure if it was a joke on our part, and I don't blame her for that. If I could have found like a toy smartphone, then I would have put the iPhone inside of that and wrapped it.
Oh.
and I didn't think about it till after I saw her reaction. It's like, because we updated our phones a couple months ago, and it's like I should have saved that box and put a present inside of that and wrapped it. So if you unwrap it, have an iPhone box and then open it up and it's a pair of socks or something. It's like, I would have done that joke. So
right.
I can't fault her for not trusting the iPhone box was actually an iPhone in it.
She's like, I don't trust you, Dad, man. You fucked with us way too many times for this to be true. Come on now.
Hey, future skeptic.
Yeah, exactly. Black Cat says, I'm going to promote RPGrinders on Mastodon. I really appreciate that, Black Cat. That would help us a lot. Like, we don't get a lot of promotions, so, you know, we've been doing this for a long time, so, you know, there you go. Eric, any final thoughts before we end the show of the decade, the last show of the decade?
Hope you don't drink too much on New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
I hope Breakman's not lit.
Drive safe. Hopefully the weather doesn't get like incredibly terrible.
Yeah, I hope not.
It's been distressingly warm because like that's proof that climate change is affecting us.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've known that for what, a couple decades.
I saw a meme earlier today that said Trump got impeached and the weather's been great since.
There must be a God, right? Because you know, since Trump got impeached, the weather's been awesome. So, yeah, Black Cat, he's gonna knock back a few beers. Yeah, why not? I mean, just be careful. You know, that's all we ask. Like, smoke it up, drink it up, just be careful. You know, anything else, Freak or Eric?
If you haven't got your flu shot, get it.
Yeah, I'd still need to get mine, man. Hope you feel better, Black Hat, for sure. What was that? Jesus Christ, that's like the siren of the devil coming. All right, anything else?
That was my didgeridoo. I didn't have a harmonica.
It's actually kind of fun. Okay. All right. You guys have nothing else, then just want to wish everybody that's been listening. I know we have a lot of archive listeners. Really appreciate you all listening. Everybody in chat, thanks so much. Do you have any plugs, Freak 5?
Nope, not currently.
Okay, Eric, any plugs? You don't want to plug your Twitter handle, Freak5? Where can people follow you on Twitter?
I don't tweet out that much, but it's at Freak5Chaos on Twitter.
At Freak5Chaos on Twitter, as he's killing his kids in the background.
No, that's one. I know my kid's doing something.
Yeah. All right, Eric.
Freak. It's not me doing that.
Eric, your plugs.
You can find reviews I've written on sites like BostonBashBrigade.com, TotallyGN.com, and VogNetwork.com. And if you like what I've written, and you want to support me, as little as $1 on my Patreon would help. And you can find my Patreon through my Twitter handle, which is at EricRPG, and it's in my profile.
Okay, there you go.
You know, I have thought of a few more stinkers of the decade.
Uh-oh, go for it.
Stan Lee's death, Carrie Fisher's death.
Yep, those are big ones.
Yeah. All the deaths.
Yeah, all the deaths. I'm sure if Break would say we're here, he would say Tom Petty. Tom Petty was a big one. Who else? Huh? Chris Cornell.
It's time to go.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what they're doing out there.
Okay, you can follow me on Twitter at Frank Branches. You can follow the show on Twitter at RPGrinders. Send in questions to at RPGrinders. We mention all questions on the show, so if you give us a question, we will definitely address it on the show, and make sure they're real dirty sex questions for Breakman, so he could do his dear Breakman segment. I want to thank everybody in chat. Black Cat was in there. Thank you so much for joining for the first time this week. Another TV viewer was in there. A10 was in there. Bernie was in there, of course. GZA_ was in there. Our good friend Wyland was in there. Let Me Play was in there. Megaxa was in there. I didn't even see you sneak in there, Megaxa. Dungeon Buster, our great friend Dungeon Buster was in there. Windsock, and of course Freak 5 was in there as well, and joined us on the last show of the decade. What were you going to say, Freak? As somebody's getting murdered in your house?
I have a plug.
Yeah, go ahead.
Not having kids.
Yeah, please don't. I mean, if you're listening to what's going on in your house is any indication, don't have kids. That's for sure.
That's a stinko of teenagers.
For sure. Okay. Yeah, the dirtier the better, Bernie says on the questions at RPGrinders. You can on any of the systems you can add me RPGrinders on the PlayStation, the Xbox, or the Nintendo Switch. So if you haven't already added me there, so
send me your code on the Switch. I don't think I have you added.
I think it's RPGrinders on Switch as well. So it's RPGrinders.
You don't even look for code. You can just look for their name.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
RPGrinders on anything. I'll get you there in any of the systems. Thanks to everybody in chat. Also, thanks to all the archive listeners. I don't thank the archive listeners enough. Thank you all so much for listening. Really appreciate it. Tell your friends. That's the only way we're going to grow the show. So that's all I got to say. It was a great decade for Grinders for sure. I always talk about the lack of people on YouTube or whatever, but we have tons of archive listeners. So really appreciate you all listening. If you want to join us live, it's live every Friday, 7 Eastern Time. Twitch.tv/RPGrinders, or you can search RPGrinders on YouTube. We're there as well. So anything else, gentlemen? Nothing?
Have a good weekend.
Oh, we got Triangle. That's awesome. More Triangle, the better. That's really cool. All right, stay safe this weekend. We want to see you back here next week. Until then, last show of the decade. We'll see you next decade. We're out.
See you next year.
Breakman wasn't here to do his cowbell. But we get burps.
Yeah, I'm going to text Breakman and tell him I took his gerb.
Yeah, you took his gerb. All right, everybody in chat, thank you all so much. It was tons of fun. I'm going to do a Grinder dance party coming up in January sometime. Don't quite know when yet, but I was going to do one.
You need to do one before the end of the decade.
I was thinking about it, but I think I'm good on that, man. I got stuff to do, man. I'm a busy man. What can I say? Busy man.
Smoking weed.
That's right. I mean, the weed's priority for sure. Bernie says she loves Grinder Dance. Thanks, everybody in chat again. Really, really appreciate y'all. Black Cat, thanks so much. He was calling in from a hospital bed. Hopefully you're feeling better, Black Cat. And I'm really happy that you got to join this week, even though you're in your condition at the hospital. Hopefully you feel better. Get out of the hospital, get back into the comfort of your home, and join us from your home next week or something. I don't know when you're going to get out, but hopefully sooner than later. Thanks everybody in chat. Really appreciate it. Till then, we're out.
Yep.
Later, everybody.
Have a nice night.